We've got to figure out what rocks we need to create the rock-solid foundation. We used up all the easy rock. There might be some. Let's look down through this creek, see what we find.
Eustace Conway, a reputable name from the reality TV show Mountain Men, became famous during his teens for his remarkable skills in living off the land. Living in the Appalachian Mountains, Conway practices survival techniques that have been passed down from different generations. He's built his life around nature, often facing numerous challenges in his quest for independence. However, behind his bravery and ruggedness lies a story of struggles and personal challenges. From the loss of his friends to legal issues, Conway took a path laden with turbulence in his quest for liberating Americans. So, join us as we uncover what really happened to Eustace Conway from Mountain Men. Conway is a veteran of an active life who strictly follows the motto of "just do it." His strong belief led him to set out alone at just 12 years old to live off the land. At age 17, he moved out to live in an Indian teepee, which served as his only home for 17 winters. However, his off-the-grid lifestyle was threatened by the government after his property, Turtle Island, was forced to shut down public access. For someone who just wants to respect nature, make his own food, and teach others how to do the same, his issues with the government over his land have been a significant and difficult part of his life. Of course, the land dispute stemmed from his efforts to live off the land on a property in the Appalachian Mountains. Back in 1987, Conway wanted to create a space where he could live freely, without the influence of modern society, and teach people about self-sufficiency. So, he founded his lifelong dream, Turtle Island Preserve, an environmental education center and 1,000-acre wildlife preserve near Boone, North Carolina. However, the land was not entirely his, and this created a long-lasting legal battle with the government. Now, it wasn't just the land that caused this issue, but also the buildings on the land. You see, Conway, unlike other modern men, used his knowledge of the land laws to establish his home and community on Turtle Island. Over the years, he developed the island, building structures like cabins, a school, and other facilities a normal society would need. Conway was passionate about preserving the land in its natural state and creating a place that would serve as a model for sustainable living. However, he didn't follow the due process of acquiring land titles and permits from the government. While he believed he was acting within the bounds of the law by using the land in a way that did not involve large-scale commercial use, he'd not obtained the proper legal documentation to officially own or use the land for such a purpose. As a result, local authorities and the US government took issue with his settlement. The government, through its spokesperson, argued that Conway didn't have the correct zoning and land use permits, which were required by law. They claimed that Conway's activities on the land violated federal and state management rules, especially concerning land development and environmental protection. The issue came to a head when Conway was threatened with eviction from the property. Over the years, the government filed several legal actions against Conway, trying to force him to leave the land, but his fans were supportive all through the cause. The government also raised concerns about the environmental impact of his activities, especially since he built structures on the land without official approval and had not followed all environmental regulations. This was a major problem, as building permits, water rights, and waste disposal systems were all essential for legally living on and using the land. Fast forward to 2012, Turtle Island was eventually forced to shut down public access because its traditional buildings violated building codes. With this, Conway fought back. He didn't want to give up all he'd lived for in his entire life, but as he was trying to put out the fire, he ignited another. By the end of December 2012, Conway seemed to be making progress towards reaching a resolution with the North Carolina Building Code Council. However, he was arrested for trespassing on a neighbor's property in a dispute over the property border, continuing the legal challenges to Turtle Island. Fortunately, his arrest made him a person of interest to the state officials, and with that, North Carolina General Assembly stepped in, proposing an exemption to building code requirements for primitive structures. Both the state's House and Senate voted unanimously to pass House Bill 774. The bill was signed into law by Governor Pat McCrory on June 12, 2013. Eventually, the land dispute and arrest were settled amicably. Also, Conway was advised to adjust his lifestyle to be more in line with the government's regulations. But that wasn't all. After his long legal issues with the government, Conway allegedly went missing. While many rally behind Conway during his fight with the government, his alleged mysterious disappearance has also kept the internet buzzing in recent times. For a man who is open to teaching the public about off-grid living, his recent disappearance seems completely out of character. Although he's lived on Turtle Island all his life, he often steps out of his home to attend speaking events and to honor other important invitations. However, in 2018, Conway allegedly disappeared from his island and away from public view for several months. His period of disappearance raised a lot of questions. His fans and admirers who follow his show, Mountain Men, were disturbed by his absence. And as you would guess, it led to speculations among his fans. To worsen the situation, neither the show's producers or Conway released an official statement to ease the minds of the fans. Some fans speculated that Conway had left the show and he opted to do it discreetly, while some wondered if something serious had happened behind the camera. As the speculations kept growing, it wasn't long before media houses started reporting his mysterious absence, and this led to a conspiracy theory. You see, Conway is one of the government antagonists, and he seems to have a problem with how they handled the issues of Hurricane Helen. In a video posted in October of 2024, he claimed the official death toll from the storm was not correctly reported by the media houses and accused the government and the news media houses of lying about the true impact of the storm. According to Conway, there were piles of dead bodies around his vicinity, and he also mentioned that 18-wheeler refrigerated trucks were filled up with dead bodies and wondered why there was such a disparity between the reality of what he was seeing and what the people were being told. In another video he posted about Hurricane Helen, he claimed that officials leading response and recovery operations were preventing volunteers and donations from helping the hurricane victims. Just so you know, many of the claims Conway made, that the true death toll was in the tens of thousands, morgues filling up, massive numbers of bodies seen around the mountains, and the government conspiring with media houses to keep the people in the dark, have all been proven false by local and state officials. Additionally, North Carolina public press reporters have visited many of the areas Conway mentioned in his videos and saw no evidence to support his claims. With that, the fans speculated that the false accusations and many other criticisms might be the reason behind his sudden disappearance, but that turned out to be just mere speculation. As time went on, the real reason behind his disappearance became clear, though it was shrouded in mystery as well. Apparently, Conway has been dealing with some personal struggles silently. One of his many struggles was the health problems he suffered for years, including injuries that almost claimed his life. You know you can't be living in the mountains and not go hiking. During one of his hiking expeditions, Conway unfortunately suffered a back injury after a fall. The fall made it difficult for him to continue his demanding lifestyle in the Appalachian Mountains, so that might likely be the reason behind his disappearance. However, there were reports that he also faced emotional stress as well. The thing is, Conway wants to live a naturalist lifestyle, and the truth is that it has its pros and cons. One of the cons is, Conway often feels lonely and disconnected from the world. Despite his efforts to build a community on Turtle Island, he struggled with isolation, and that might also contribute to his prolonged disappearance. But it wasn't just that. Conway's break from the screens was also linked to the legal and financial troubles he went through with the government. Apparently, the long legal issues not only exhausted Conway mentally, it also drained him financially. The back and forth with the government and financial constraints may have contributed significantly to his decision to take a back seat, which is totally understandable. Surprisingly, after several months of no update from him or his management, he returned to the public eye, even though his reappearance didn't come with an explanation. The fans of Mountain Men would know Preston Roberts as Conway's right man, but he was more than that. He was the visionary co-founder of Turtle Island Preserve, who doubled as Conway's best friend and companion for many years. Over the 6 seasons that he featured in, Preston personally raised thousands of dollars for Turtle Island's summer camp scholarship program by auctioning off the knives he crafted and used on the show. But all this came to an end after he was diagnosed with cancer. Preston's case was extreme, and despite his best efforts to fight it, his health kept deteriorating. Conway, who had been by his side throughout the illness, found himself burdened with the reality of losing his best friend. The duo had shared so much together since they crossed paths in the 1990s. Preston, being a skilled craftsman and teacher, soon became Conway's close friend. Together they shared a passion for living a sufficient life off the land. On Turtle Island, Preston helped with teaching basic survival skills to visitors. He also helps with building structures, hunting, and performing other tasks necessary to maintain their wilderness lifestyle. Their camaraderie and teamwork made them a force to be reckoned with back at home. Viewers loved watching their deep friendship unfold on the screen, with Preston being the calm and reserved one. However, fans will never get to see those special moments anymore, as Preston passed away peacefully on July 24, 2017, in the arms of his wife, Kathleen. According to Preston's diagnosis, he had a large inoperable tumor on his liver that obstructed the flow of blood and oxygen to his organs and body. What this means is that vital organs, such as the brain, weren't receiving the required amount of oxygen needed. His ailment was rapid and outpaced all the conventional treatment he was given. The loss of Preston was one of the hardest moments in Conway's life, and it definitely affected him personally and professionally. Conway had always relied on Preston's teaching skills and appearance in their mission of growing a small community at Turtle Island. In his Facebook post after Preston's passing, he spoke about how hard it was to lose someone who had become like a brother to him. He also admitted that the loss left a void in his life that was difficult to fill, as they had been through so much together. After Preston's death, Conway continued to honor his friend's legacy. He often spoke about the lessons and impact he learned from Preston in many of his lectures. He, alongside Preston's wife, also started a GoFundMe campaign for the family Preston left behind. Additionally, Conway, friends and fans from around the world, started a new scholarship in Preston's honor. This memorial scholarship will carry on Preston's legacy and his devotion to camp at Turtle Island Preserve. Prior to his death, Preston, just like Conway, was also experiencing challenges, one of which was a major health scare involving his wife, Kathleen Roberts. While this doesn't directly involve Conway, Preston's wife is family to him, and this allegiance was put to the test after Kathleen faced health issues that put the Roberts family in a difficult situation. In 2017, it was reported that Kathleen was diagnosed with cancer. Although the exact detail of her cancer wasn't shared with the public, the news took an emotional toll on Preston. In several interviews, Preston made it clear that his wife's health was a priority for the family. Through her illness, Preston was her rock, offering his support and care. As a couple, they were known to share a deep bond, and the diagnosis also solidified their relationship. Fortunately, Kathleen's health eventually improved, but the experience left a lasting impact on their lives. Preston's transparency in sharing frequent updates about his wife's health made him even more relatable to his audience. Sadly, Preston passed away not long after his wife's condition improved. Apparently, he had been taking care of his cancer-stricken wife when he received devastating news about his own health. However, that wasn't all. Another cast member of Mountain Men suffered the same fate. No doubt, all avid followers of Mountain Men will know a thing or two about Jason Hawk. He's known for his survival skills, ability to craft tools, and his deep connection to nature. However, in 2020, Jason suddenly stopped appearing on the show, which led to questions from the fans. When the news of his fans demanding an explanation got to him, Jason spilled the tea. According to him, after experiencing some unusual symptoms and feeling unwell, he went to see his doctor, who recommended some tests. The tests he did eventually revealed Jason has an abnormal growth in his body, which raised concerns that it might be cancerous. From the tests, the doctor diagnosed him with cancer at age 45, so he decided to back off from the show and focus on his health. In the weeks that followed his diagnosis, he shared his journey with his fans, keeping them updated on his medical condition and treatment process. During this trying time, Jason, like any other diagnosed patient, underwent multiple tests. Initially, the doctors recommended 6 weeks of intensive chemotherapy and radiation 5 days a week, followed by more aggressive chemotherapy treatment for 4 months. This was advised in the event that the abnormal growth would shrink after the treatment, so he could have the operation. While all this was going on, another challenge befell him. However, this time, it wasn't a medical issue, but rather a financial one. Although there's little information about it, reports show that the History Channel allegedly did not renew Jason's contract for Mountain Men due to the logistical challenges around his cancer treatments. This shouldn't have been a problem normally, but the earnings from the show were the only source of income for Jason and his family. With that, he and his wife were left with no other option than to set up a GoFundMe campaign to help cover their medical bills. Fortunately, Jason shared with his fans that he was improving after his first week of chemo treatment, and since his contract was terminated, he no longer appears on Mountain Men, but posts from his Instagram page suggest that he is alive and well, although it appears he is still going for frequent treatment in the hospital.